All right, for this video, we're going to walk through the Deer Attention Task Protocol. Now, assuming that we're just starting out with a participant and we've hooked them up to the ECG equipment and Knowledge is running, we can go in and make sure that everything is up and ready to go for the eye tracking protocol. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to the Start menu to make sure that we're sending triggers through the appropriate port. So under the box at the bottom, you can type in Device Manager, and then click on Device Manager in the so click on Device Manager, and then you can scroll down and click on the triangle for the ports CDM LPT. You can click on the left arrow, there you go, and then click on the PCI port for the LPT3. So double click on that. Go over to the Resources tab, and make sure that the settings for the IO range for the first list is A010. That's the actual port name, port number that's sending triggers from SMI into Acknowledge. Okay, as long as that says A010, you can ignore the other four alphanumeric codes and you're good to go. Now the other potential code that you might see is something like a BFF7 or something along those lines. If that's the case, what you want to do is you want to close out, detach the ribbon cable LPT port card and plug it back in. If that doesn't allow the A010 to pop up, then I would suggest leave the card in and then just restart the computer and then go through this process again to check to make sure that our proper port is being listed. Okay, since it is, you can go ahead and click on OK, and you can close out of the Device Manager. All right, and then we'll go ahead and open up iView and Experiment Center. So start by opening up iView. Double click on the icon. All right, so you're going to want to first make sure that the participant is seated where they're supposed to be in terms of the center of the screen. So we're going to ask you, sir, to move a little bit to the right and drop your chair down a little bit. And if the chair is as far down as it can go, you can kind of slouch yourself down slightly. Right there is perfect. Okay, and we'll have you move back just a little bit, because again, we're looking to make sure that the participant is kind of near 60 centimeters away from the monitor. Okay, and from there we can click on the Advanced tab to make sure that we can see the eyes okay, which is good. So you're seeing that the cartoon eyes in the upper right hand corner are white and non-flashing, and you can see that we have good pupil and CR discrimination here with this participant as well. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and open up Experiment Center. Okay, so go and click on Experiment Center. You can click on OK for this warning setting, and then go up to Open. And now we're going to scroll down and look for the Deer Attention OA file. So you can go and pull out the name so you can see the full names a little bit easier. Okay. And there's Deer Attention OA. You can highlight it, click Load, or double click on it. Okay, so what we like to do usually is we like to click on the RED tracking monitor so you can keep an eye on the participant's eyes during the presentation, and maybe drag and drop down the Experiment Center window so you can see those eyes a little bit better. Okay, excellent. Okay, so the eyes are still at the center of the screen where we need them to be. Now we're ready to go ahead and start with our calibration. So go ahead and click on record. And we'll just call this June 29th as our participant number so that we can use this in reference to when we process and export this data later. Okay, so now before we hit the enter key, we're going to notify to the participant that they're going to see a white circle with a red dot in the center appear at the center of the screen. They are to follow that circle as it moves to various corners on the screen. Hold their gaze to that circle till it moves to another location. Try not to skip ahead. And we may have to go through this process a couple of times. Okay? And from there, hit up the enter key and then click the space bar to begin the calibration. Okay, now you can notice that the validation is happening now, and you can see the little yellow cursor. And then we can look to see at our metrics to see the deviation from the X and Y axis. Again, we want to make sure that the X and Y axis, the deviation is less than 1/2 degree on both quadrants. So we have 0.31 on X and 0.24 on the Y, which is great. This is perfect calibration, and we would continue with it. Now, one thing to be mindful of, I didn't mention this before, but it's something that you would obviously know if you were to start the calibration and the participant doesn't see the screen they need to see, is to make sure that in the bottom left-hand corner that the select stimulus display is listed under display 2. So before you hit record, make sure that you have the proper display before you continue. But it already happened to be on display 2 here. So we were good to go. So go ahead and click continue, and then we'll actually start the experiment. Okay, so we're going to tell the participant here is that for the first few minutes, we're going to get a baseline of their physiological activity. And so for the next few minutes, we ask that they sit still, breathe normally, try to avoid any sudden movements or talking while they keep their fixation on a fixation cross at the center of the screen. If they have no other questions, they can notify the experimenter when they're ready to begin.
Let's go.
Okay, and then go ahead and press the spacebar to continue. Okay, so during this brief little interlude, we're going to go ahead and pause our video, and we'll come back when it's time to give the actual instructions for the experiment. Okay, so we finished with the baseline, so now we're going to instruct the participant how we're going to proceed with the experiment. So we'll just read along with the participant out loud with these instructions. So you're going to be viewing a series of face pairs. At the beginning of each face pair, you will be seeing a number between 1 and 9. Please say that number aloud in order to ensure that you are looking straight at the center and not biasing your attention to one side of the screen. After the presentation of the number, we'd like for you to view these face pairs that will appear naturally as if at home watching television. Now, on some trials, you're going to be presented with either an oval or a square surrounding one of the two faces. We'd like you to respond to these shapes as quickly and as accurately as possible when they appear. So for instance, if you see a square, we want you to press the Z key on the keyboard, which is also denoted by a little sticker that looks like a square. And if you see an oval, I want you to press the M key on the keyboard, which is denoted by an oval sticker. Okay? And again, once you've made this response, either Z or M, press the space bar to advance to the next trial. Prior to the experimental trials, we're going to perform a couple of practice trials, and the practice trials will include one face followed by a pair of faces and one shape. Again, try to respond to these shapes as quickly as possible. If you do not have any questions, let the experimenter know that you're ready to begin.
Good. 3.
All right, you don't have to say my last
Okay. I tried to be animated about it.
It was great. You're so excited. It's the best educational videos are the ones that are cheesy as hell.